I am what a lesbian looks like.
My name is Lori, I'm 44, and I am what a lesbian looks like.
I am what a lesbian looks like. You're not seeing my face because I have children. And I promised my daughter many years ago that I would not be filmed. I would not have my face on the front page of the newspaper because she didn't want to have to explain to her friends as to why her mother was on the front page of the newspaper or on television or whatever.
I have known about my attraction for women since my early 20s.
Yeah.
But didn't completely and fully identify until a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Well, it took me a long time to realize I was gay, but I knew that I was different when I was 5. When I was out in the fields picking berries, the kids used to wager bets which bathroom I was going into. So I was going in the men's bathroom or if I was going in the girls', the girls' or the boys' bathroom.
And why did they do that?
They did that because my mother always dressed me in blue jeans, and the reason she dressed me in blue jeans, I mean that was before blue jeans were common, was because I was always outside helping my dad or working outside all of the time, so it didn't make sense to put me in dresses, nor did I want to be in dresses.
So, I knew at an early age that I was a lesbian. In the 6th grade, when you start menstruating and you get those hormones, I can remember kissing girls. Oh, let's pretend like we're each other's boyfriend just for practice.
Yeah.
And for me, it was never really practice, but that's how
That's how you played it off.
that's how I played it off. And so, it was confusing. I didn't have anybody to talk to about it. And when I got into high school, I just did the normal standard social thing, which was I actually dated just one guy through high school.
I think just leading a pretty sheltered life, and there was just no societal, cultural context for what lesbian is, when I was growing up, and there were no images. It was just not even a consideration. It was not even something that I knew anything about. So,
Looking back now, if I would have gone to college, I would have gone to college with most of my lesbian friends now, and I probably would have never gotten married. But you just got married and had kids. That was the thing you did. I still always thought I was different, but I didn't. Growing up in a small town, I didn't realize that we had labels.
Yeah.
I just told myself that if I got married and had some kids, that feeling, that desire, that longing would go away.
The hardest thing, talk about coming out, was to come out to my mother.
How did that go?
That was rather humorous in a way, I said, Mother, I'm gay, and she just said, well, does that mean, and she named my partner and says, does that mean she's gay too? Because my partner at the time happened to be I would say was probably an 8 or a 9 on my femme scale. And she said, and I said yes. And she says, so you're queer, huh? A word I don't care for. And I said yes. And that was the end of subject. She never brought it up. I never brought it up again, but that's just how my mother dealt with things anyway.
Were they shocked?
Yeah, I would say so. My brother was completely supportive and kind of surprised, like he didn't see it coming. And his wife is fantastic, and they are my biggest supporters still. And my parents are still having a difficult time. It's been a year and a half since I came out to them. And I'm really, really proud of how I did it and what I did and what I said. And
Yeah.
I felt very strong in the moment, even though it was excruciatingly hard and my heart was beating out of my chest. And
Yeah.
I was so determined, and I had every piece of support and information there for them, and we spent a couple hours talking. I still underestimated what it would do to my mom,
Really?
and she's still having a really hard time with it.
Family was great when I came out to them.
Yeah.
My mom said, "Oh, honey, you're going through a phase," and I said, "No, Mom, it's not a phase, you know." And she would send me little articles. She'd clip out little articles in the newspaper and send them to me about lesbians or gays or advice columns and stuff like that. I just loved that about her.
My dad had a much easier time.
Really?
Yeah, that kind of caught me off guard.
Wow.
And, you know, he and I were kind of chuckling about different poignant things by the end of the day.
Wow.
And he made one statement that was incredibly profound to me. He went to West Point, and there's a cadet prayer, and what my brother and I grew up with was always choose the harder right rather than the easier wrong, and that was kind of the compass that guided our decision making. And he would always preach that to us over and over and over again. And then so I shared this information with my parents, and my mom was falling apart. My dad and I took a walk on the beach, and I said, "Dad, you know, this is my harder right. I can't live that, you know, that life anymore." And I wasn't sure how he would take it, me coming out, using that context to quote his cadet prayer that was so precious to him. I thought it could go either way. And then he didn't miss a beat, and he quoted the next line of the poem, or the prayer, which was, "Never be content with half-truth when the whole can be won."
Oh, wow.
And I totally lost it. It was so touching that he got it in that moment, you know.
Yeah. Wow.
That this was my truth, and he didn't have to understand it, but he believed me. And
I guess my answer to that, I can remember being with men, fantasizing about women.
I guess if you have to prove yourself, then you don't feel comfortable in your own skin. I think it's very true with the younger women that a lot of women tend to not really be out of one relationship before they jump into another one. I mean, they don't really cut the ties. I personally think that's sad, and I think part of the reason for that is because so many of them, especially when they're young, tend to go from relationship to relationship, so they don't really have anything. And so, you know, if you don't have anything and everything's together, then okay, who gets what when you leave?
You know, I am so way into that butch femme dynamic. You know, there's something way different about lesbian sex than heterosexual sex. Lesbian sex is more creative, it's more erotic, it's more sensual, and they are women.
Right.
So I guess I don't see it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, butch femme dynamic, super duper hot. And I remember I kind of isolated myself because I was going through my own internalized homophobia, and I was ashamed, and I didn't really find the community. I mean, back then there was the E-room. That was the most outstanding thing that I can remember.
that was kind of a fear of mine. Like I wasn't a part of the culture, you know. I didn't have, but I found a group through the Q Center that helped me
Fit
a
in.
whole hell of a lot, and just for women who are coming out later in life.
I had come out at some point in the journal, and I just felt somehow that it was safe.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just wrote out, I think I'm gay and blah, blah, blah. And had all of these questions. And anyway, the professor wound up very sweetly answering all of them. And I had no idea she was a lesbian.
Really?
And I was so moved by that. It was such a shame because I never got to tell her the impact that that had on me.
Mm-hmm.
But she had answered all my questions, and then I picked up my journal after school was out in June.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember reading what she had written, and I was so moved. I just started bawling.